Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have, well, I certainly have your attention. What a good-natured group we have here, which is not a surprise. It's the Organization of American Historians, and I am the fortunate person to be president of this group. And one of the huge satisfactions of that is thinking of the plenary sessions a person would like to attend herself, and then getting going on thinking what those might be. I was very fortunate early on to have appointed Peter Castor at the far end of the table there as the local resources co-chair. And so we knew we wanted, this was last summer, we wanted to address issues grounded in St. Louis. And we knew that we wanted to try this idea. I did not know this until Peter brought it to my attention, and then I instantly knew I wanted this idea, that we wanted to think about what happens to conventional national narratives when we start here, when we start in the interior, when we start in the middle of the country, and we don't start on either coast. So what happens to narratives that we thought we knew, which in fact are structured sometimes by an east to west pattern, sometimes by a sense that the Pacific coast picks up as visibility and impact, but coastal narratives, what would happen if we went into the interior? So that was Peter's idea, which I liked so much I began to think it was mine, but I know now, looking at him here, apparently not. All of our minds are great mosaics and quilts, really, that's all our minds are, and there are pieces we've picked up from others. So this is really Peter's idea. We were working on this, and we had our plan starting to take shape, and then it became early August, and then the desire to pay attention to the issues here that involved came from the killing of Michael Brown and has been still so consequential and so important nationally, that really gave even greater energy to our hope to do something right and lasting and valuable with this session. So it is my I just have the role of saying thank you for coming. What a pleasure to see you all here. And then my other role is to introduce the person whose idea this was, Peter Castor, who will then introduce the panelists. So Peter Castor is a rarity in the world, and it's a kind of rarity that I particularly love. He is fascinated by federal bureaucrats, as I am. So what a miracle that there would be someone else who I could say, oh, hi, Peter, and we would just be soulmates. Is that right? Is there soul involved in this? I think it is. So I appreciate him very much. He's professor and chair of the Department of History and professor of American Cultural Studies at Washington University here in St. Louis. His research interests are in the intersection of politics, policymaking, and culture in the early republic. His two very fine books, The Nation's Crucible, the Louisiana Purchase and the Creation of America, and William Clark's World. Oh, if my handwriting could only get better. This is a wonderful, what is the word there? Is that? Yes. Describing, okay. I see that now. It says, it's my handwriting, so it was going to be, here we're going to say it properly, William Clark's World, describing America in an age of unknowns, but horribly it had turned into deserting America, which is a terrible thing, and I knew that couldn't be. Well, there's a fresh angle on William Clark. Someone else can write that book. Graduate students, you can do that one. But both those books are very fine and valuable books. And in process now, he has a book called Creating a Federal Government. So I am really pleased to say that I'm sitting down and listening to this great panel, and I am now bringing up Peter Castor, who will introduce the panelists and the event.
Don't worry about it. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, that's a nice touch. So I can say perhaps what Patty cannot, because she came here from Colorado. Since I live here in St. Louis, welcome to St. Louis. And the question I want to ask, just how many of you are here? How many of you are here from out of town? I know it's not all of you, because there are a fair number of locals here. Okay, this is actually hugely important. Because when I say I want to welcome you to St. Louis, in many ways this plenary is intended to introduce you to this city and its surrounding region, which we thought would be immensely important regardless of when the OAH was going to be held in St. Louis, but of course this year in particular, when so much national attention has come to St. Louis. What I also want to mention is there are two sessions large plenary type sessions that are dealing with St. Louis and Ferguson. So we have our session today. There is also a public session on Saturday entitled Historicizing Ferguson. I want to make certain that's on everyone's radar. And that will be very much about Ferguson within historical context. Our goal today is a little different. By focusing on the intersecting concerns of race and class in American metropolitan development, our speakers are going to use the recent events in Ferguson as a point of departure